If you're a fan of an NFL team that's thinking about tanking for Arch Manning this season, think again. His grandfather and former NFL quarterback Archie told Texas Monthly Magazine that Arch will not enter the 2026 NFL draft. Archie said he hasn't spoken to his grandson about the topic, but said he knows him well enough that Arch will be at Texas for the 2026 season. Remember that Archie helped orchestrate the trade that sent his son Eli from the Chargers to the Giants on draft night in 2004. How can we forget? Welcome in CBS Sports NFL writer Tyler Sullivan. Arch went from plus 450 to plus 850 to go first overall in 2026 after Archie's comments. You know football is the Manning family business, and the plan for Arch is to spend 4 years in college, so the idea of him declaring in 2026 was unlikely. Tyler, you wrote an article about this on CBSSports.com. This season will be Arch Manning's first as the full-time starter at Texas. I don't like that Archie made these comments before talking to Arch. It sounds a little bit dysfunctional to me.
It sounds a lot like 2004, right? I mean, it feels like we're going in a time machine and looking back where it was Archie and it was Eli, and all of a sudden it's the Chargers selecting him. It's awkward for the first overall pick, and then all of a sudden he becomes a New York Giant. Like, I feel like we're starting to go into that type of waters here with Archie and Arch Manning. But overall, this is what the Manning family does. They are in the business of producing Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. And so they're not going to put, Archie's not going to put Arch, his grandson, in a position, and he's going to voice it, we're in a position where he might not succeed in the NFL, because we know this. There are certain landing spots in the NFL that are more advantageous than others. It's the way that the league goes at this point. So if they feel like there is a situation in 2026 where it's a slam dunk, he has to go into the NFL early because we have it on good authority that whichever team has the #1 pick will take him, and we like that situation, well, then maybe they change their tune. If it's a team they don't like, they're going to keep singing the same song. He will go back to Austin. He will go back to Texas, and he'll be the Longhorns quarterback in 2026, and we'll see what happens in 2027. But let's remind us that if we go to 2027 and they don't like the team that was #1 overall, they've also shown us that that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. So let's play the hypothetical here. If Arch stays in school in 2026, as you mentioned, he'll likely get drafted in 2027. If he plays well and the potential is still there, who might be bad enough in 2027 to draft Arch Manning?
So I have 5 teams on a story up at CBSSports.com. I'll give you 2 of the juiciest ones because I think that they're the most fun. There are some teams that are worse than others, but to me, the Los Angeles Rams are the most fun. Now, are they one of the worst teams in the NFL? We have no idea, but the question here is we're talking about 2026, not 2025. This team could look a whole lot different this time a year from now because of the quarterback spot. We don't know what the future holds for Matthew Stafford. There is a non-zero chance that he decides that 2025 will be his final season and he opts to retire. And that leaves the Los Angeles Rams with no clear answer at quarterback. Sure, they could go with Jimmy Garoppolo, who's kind of been filling in as Stafford's been dealing with injury, or they could say, you know what, this is a good opportunity for us to retool, and if you want to use tank, you could use that as well, assess what we have, and then we can attack the quarterback position at the 2027 NFL draft. And the fact that we can even talk about the possibility of Sean McVay coaching Arch Manning, as I said in the article, that's the closest I feel that we can create a quarterback in a lab where it comes from the Manning bloodline. You have McVay coaching him. That would feel like a cheat code. The other team that I want to point out, and it's number 3 on this list, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have been one of the teams that have been going at the veteran quarterback route over the last few years. Last year, it was Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. This year, it's Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers already talking about this being his swan song, possibly retiring after this season. In a very similar scenario to the Los Angeles Rams, the Steelers could look at 2026 as a rebuild year. Maybe they go into the year with Mason Rudolph or Will Howard, who they drafted a year ago, kind of go to the bottom of the league, but they retool, reset of what they have on the defensive side of the ball with some aging veterans, and then you pair Mike Tomlin with Arch Manning. I think that those 2 would be absolutely box office.
I don't want to say this would be hilarious because these are real human beings that are involved in these conversations, but we as fans and broadcasters, we sit up here and we'll go, what if that happened? Because you had Miami on there. What if he were to go to Miami and replace Quinn Ewers the same guy he replaced in Austin. Wouldn't that be hilarious if, right? I mean, that would be wild.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And there's a bunch of these juicy stories, right? You can talk about Quinn Ewers in Miami. You can talk about the Raiders on there that now has Tom Brady as a minority owner. Tom Brady paying the checks for a Manning. And you have the Indianapolis Colts in there as a possibility as well. So kind of the nephew taking over the reins from Peyton Manning. There's a ton of these juicy storylines. And so the Miami one's great. There's a bunch of them across the NFL with Manning.
The Chargers wanted a Manning. Instead, they got Phillip Rivers. It worked out for both franchises. Currently, the Chargers have their franchise quarterback, but unfortunately, the man protecting his blind side is out for the season. We got news. Pro Bowl left tackle Rashawn Slater suffered a ruptured patella tendon on Thursday. He just recently became the highest-paid offensive lineman in league history, carted off the practice field, suffering the injury while blocking during team drills. A massive blow, but L.A. does have the luxury of 2024 fifth overall pick Joe Alt, who will likely slide over from guard to tackle in Slater's absence. Tyler, this is a brutal blow for the Chargers, coming off a great season, but it is next man up. Do you believe Alt is up to the task?
I do, and as you referenced, this is a brutal blow for the Los Angeles Chargers, brutal blow for Harbaugh, because they want to run the football, right? Their identity is to play smash mouth football. As much as they have Justin Herbert and they have Ladd McConkey coming into year 2, they want to run the football. They draft Amari and Hampton. They bring in a couple of veterans as well. I just feel bad for the Chargers. I feel like they're kind of a cursed organization. It feels like every time around this year, there is some sort of devastating injury that puts them behind the 8 ball. I can think all the way back to when they had Hunter Henry and he dealt with a season-ending injury during off-season workouts or training camp workouts. So the fact that you are now going to be down who they are paying in what is revered to be arguably the best offensive tackle in the NFL, that's not going to help you in a division where you have George Karlaftis in Kansas City, you have Max Crosby in Las Vegas, you're facing a lot of these elite pass rushers. It's only going to make life more difficult for Justin Herbert and for Harbaugh as they try to take that next step. They made the playoffs last year, but obviously that 4-interception game from Herbert knocked them out early. The fact that you won't have your star left tackle, it's only going to hurt you as you go forward.
Aaron Rodgers also knows what it's like to suffer a season-ending injury. Enters his 21st season in the NFL, first with the Steelers. He continues to be vocal at Steelers camp, offered some constructive criticism when asked about his younger teammates, including wide receiver Roman Wilson.
I would say Roman, just like Cal, and really all our guys, they really care about it. You know, I noticed that when they came out west, just to see their attention to detail and their willingness to learn. So Ro, you know, I just got to get Ro out of his head a little bit, you know, because I think he's such a good kid. He cares so much about whether it's my approval or he's doing it right, and he just got to trust himself because he's so damn talented. You know, the more he can play free and not think out there, the better he's going to play. So the more he can just trust what he's got and then just go out and react, the better he's going to play.
I love that Aaron Rodgers is giving us that insight, that he actually shared that with him. Trust yourself. Get out of your own head. This is all great advice because the former Michigan standout Roman Wilson had his rookie season derailed because of an ankle injury he suffered during training camp last year. So, Tyler, this is, of course, certainly great advice from Rodgers. What's your reaction and takeaway from Aaron Rodgers' comments about Roman Wilson?
It kind of has my antenna up because this is kind of one of the things that I've been critical about with Aaron Rodgers going over to the Pittsburgh Steelers, or at least some of my skepticism, I should say, is that when I look at this wide receiver depth chart, I don't see a lot of former Green Bay Packers. And actually, there are actually 0 Green Bay Packers. And what concerns me about that is Aaron Rodgers at this stage of his career, kind of a creature of habit. We saw when he transitioned from the Packers to the New York Jets, he brought a lot of familiar faces with him, whether it was Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard, Devontae Adams more recently. And when the going got tough, he zeroed in on those guys to the point where last year it felt like Garrett Wilson was effectively phased out of the offense altogether. And now, as he goes here to the Pittsburgh Steelers, there's not a lot of Green Bay Packers or not a lot of known commodities here. Sure, DK Metcalf is a talented player that they brought in, one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. Roman Wilson, a talented player, but the chemistry is not built in with either of those players. So it's encouraging that he's giving his young pass catcher encouraging words, but I'm more concerned about the chemistry. Is it actually building? And if it doesn't, at what point, because we've seen this before, does Aaron Rodgers pull the emergency exit and kind of look other ways? And that will only limit and lower the ceiling of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense if he starts to shut off pass catchers.
I kind of hope that happens because I'm a Browns fan, Tyler. I'm not going to keep my loyalty away. Browns fans don't like the Steelers. Steelers fans don't like the Browns fans. This is a fact. So whatever, hey, it's not my problem in Pittsburgh. Figure it out, I guess, right? All right, speaking of the Browns, rookie Shedeur Sanders will start the Browns preseason opener on Friday. Working hard in camp, trying to make a name for himself without the fanfare. His dad, Dion, wanted to visit training camp. Shedeur said, nope. Stay home, Dad. Stay home. I'm good. I got this under control. Tyler, a huge opportunity for Shedeur. What do you want to see from him on Friday night against the Panthers? And what would it take for him to be the Week 1 starter for Cleveland?
It would probably have to take a lot. It would have to him really just dazzle out of the gate. Now, I don't think that that's what it should take. I think that the Cleveland Browns should give their young guys the opportunity. I don't know what Joe Flacco, who it kind of feels like he's the favorite to start Week 1, I don't know what he does for this organization other than to just keep them competitive and kind of tread water for the first couple of games until they decide that they're out of it. And they do hand the keys over to Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders to see what they have at the quarterback position as possible long-term pieces. So I would give the whole reins over to a guy like Shedeur Sanders. I would give the reins to a guy like Dillon Gabriel, even though he's injured, because I want to see if there are building blocks here. I don't think Joe Flacco is going to be the answer in 2026. He's 40 years old right now. As more competitive as you might be with him under center right now does not help you in 26, 27, and 28. Shedeur Sanders could. It's not, I don't know how likely it is. Again, they drafted him in the 5th round. He fell to the 5th round, so teams are not holding him in the same revere as his name would suggest and as he performed at Colorado. But it doesn't really matter. If he performs when he gets here, well, then maybe he can change some people's minds. But right now, it feels like Joe Flacco's job in Week 1, and that continues to the Cleveland Browns to be a little rudderless, as you know quite well.
All right, well, we'll see what ends up happening. Shedeur Sanders going to get the start on Friday. Tyler Sullivan here, news and notes on CBS Sports HQ. Browns have had the worst quarterback play across the board since returning to the NFL in 1999, including an NFL-high 40 different starting quarterbacks in that span, and they're likely to carry 4 QBs on their roster to open the season. 40-year-old former Super Bowl winning quarterback Joe Flacco, 2022 first-round pick Kenny Pickett, and rookies Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders.